Hello, welcome to Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LOTRO stream. I'm your community manager, Cordovan, and I've got a bunch of news today. We're going to look at the LOTRO Creator Program. We're going to look a little bit at UI scaling. I'm going to have a look at the release notes for next week's update 46.1, tentatively scheduled. We'll have time for your news and a bunch more. But I did want to start the show with a bit of an announcement, which is that this will be my last scheduled Court of the Rings for a little while here. I've talked about this a little bit in recent weeks, but I'm moving away from regular weekly live streams due to work that needs to be done that I want to do, that we want to be able to better support, and I need to carve out time to do it. And we're about ready to talk about the LOTRO Creator Program, and that's one of the motivating factors, not the only one, but one of the motivating factors leading me to this decision that after 10 years of basically weekly live streams, or pretty close to it, depending on which game you're talking about, I'm stepping away from weekly live streams. And it's really to carve out time to do the work that I want to do, that we need to do as a company, and I need to do as a community manager. And it's really just a reflection of the landscape of 10 years ago versus today. 10 years ago, I felt personally motivated to start streaming on Twitch. We need to get our games on Twitch. You know, not that there weren't people streaming, but they weren't really streaming necessarily to an audience that was expecting their content. And so early on, it was like, all right, we're going to make this happen by basically creating the environment by which it can foster and grow. And I think we were fairly successful at that. Certainly for our kind of game and of our vintage and everything. There's a lot of studios who would love to have what we have on Twitch and YouTube and things like that. But there's always more that we can do, of course, as well. And one of the things that, frankly, has been lacking in recent years, and the world has been well underway doing this, is more short-form content, more findable content, more organizable content. You know, not just talking about TikToks and YouTube shorts, but among those kind of things. Rather than a long, hour-long, once-a-week live stream, the goal for a little while that I've had is to start getting that out in more digestible formats. And then I also want to support the work that the team is doing as well. So that would be like We Have a Cave trolls and casual strolls and things that we might be able to do in the future. I want to get the soundtracks out. You know, I want to do that social media work. And there's just a lot of tasking that, frankly, our Fridays, it's only an hour-long live stream. You know, one on LOTRO side, one on the Dungeons & Dragons online side. But it's more than 2 hours worth of work. The reality is that between the editing and the processing and the uploading and the social media work and the planning for the show and getting everything organized, and although it may not seem like it, doing a little prep work on my part, it ends up taking most of a Friday. There's a few hours there for other necessary tasks that I do as well on Friday, including scheduling most social media and things like that. But the reality is it was somewhat unsustainable in 2025 trying to make it balance it all. And I realized at the end of last year that I needed to really kind of evaluate the landscape. And it really came to focus for me when I was wanting to do more LOTRO creator support. And I'm like, well, why am I doing this rather than supporting creators and better kind of lift everyone else up rather than kind of focus on my own show? And I think it's because of the value the show's had in terms of news in particular that really has kept me going with it for this amount of time. But that doesn't have to go away. As a matter of fact, that can be enhanced. And I think that that's the goal here, is ultimately to provide better product, better service, wider service, more easily findable news and information, support the creators, the YouTubers, the bloggers, everyone on the whole landscape, and get a lot of that work done. Now, dropping a 1 hour live stream doesn't get that done, but it helps carve out the time necessary to really do that focus on the work. So that's the bad part for me. That's the sad news for me. That's the part that's taken me a little while to kind of get to the point of speaking with you today about. But there's good sides to this too, which I'm about to get to in just a second, because we have launched applications for the LOTRO Creator Program. Let's get to that. Yesterday, we launched applications for this. If you are a Twitch live streamer, if you are a YouTuber, if you're a content creator in general, if you've been doing blogs and things like that, if you've got an audience, definitely read this, consider applying. This is wider, though, than just the current LOTRO streamer community. We want to make sure that you're well supported through this program. If you're seeing some level of success streaming LOTRO, we want to make sure we're there for you to help support you on this. But this is also targeting people well beyond our community. When you look at Twitch, there are a ton of variety streamers out there and a ton of content creators who look for programs like I'm about to discuss to work with game studios and help get some of this stuff done. So there's multiple people we're looking for here. This isn't just the big dogs, but this isn't just our existing creator community either. This is everyone. And so as we get into this, kind of keep an eye out. It's like, okay, well, maybe I don't quite meet the 5,000 followers on X or whatever, but I've been making LOTRO content for 5, 7, 8 years, whatever, 2, 3, time doesn't really matter. But if you're an established LOTRO creator, you should absolutely be applying for this program. Unless maybe you're streaming to just a handful of people and are still working to kind of build that momentum. In which case we want to support you, but perhaps this program is not who we're targeting. So reach out to me. We'll make sure we help support you. But if you've got an audience, I could name names, but I ain't naming names. But let's just say I sent out some DMs yesterday to people like, you might think of being like, hey, you should apply for this because you're almost certainly in. I have to say almost certainly because I'm not the decider. There's a group of people, including myself, who will be looking through all these applications and doing the work. This is a Daybreak program, and the wider operation is involved in it, both the community, the marketing, the brand, legal. The lawyers had to look at all this stuff. All right, let's get into it. So the creator program for the Lord of the Rings Online is an official initiative by Daybreak Games to support and empower creators who bring LOTRO to life. Whether you're doing guides, making videos, exploring lore with writing, whatever, screenshots, sharing your adventures through video and streams, we're here to help you grow. This is the first round of the program. Spots are limited. While many people may meet these requirements, acceptance is not guaranteed. We are prioritizing active, engaged creators who align with the goals of the program and can help us shape the future of the LOTRO community. If you've been paying attention at all to the Dungeons & Dragons Online side, then we launched this program over there first, and we did that last year. So if you kind of want to get a sense of, well, what does it mean to be a part of the creator program if you are a creator, one thing I might suggest is reach out to your local DDO streamer and just ask them a little bit, people who are on the program, and say, hey, what's it like for you? And they'll explain basically what I'm about to read here. But if you're accepted, you're going to get access to tools, rewards, and opportunities to create alongside a network of other content creators. Why are we doing this? Does it really need an explanation? I don't think this crowd needs to. Lots of people are doing this kind of thing, but it's an important way for us to connect in a formal way with the content creator community. I think I can certainly say I have worked hard over the past 15 years to make sure that the community voice is as lifted as possible within the games that I work for. And this is really a way to formalize that in some ways. Right? For years it's been Discord DMs and emails and just everything out. Part of this is bringing people in. It's also, so that we can measure and track the outcomes and meet KPIs and do all that other kind of marketing type stuff. But it's also a way to more easily get you codes, more easily get you content, set up that chain of communication so that we can message each other easily. There will be a part of the Discord, a private part of the LOTRO Discord for the creator program, and that'll give us an opportunity to kick them assets and just do different things. And by assets, I mean like screenshots and key art and whatever, links, all that sort of thing. But there is a formal part of the program. If you've ever heard of a software called Sidekick, that's what we're using for this program. And it's really a piece of software that connects a game company or some kind of influencer marketing group, some kind of people that need to interact with content creators on the internet, and mesh with those creators. So the creators apply, we onboard them, they get into lists and things, and then we have utility that doesn't exist otherwise, or is much more ad hoc otherwise, where we can track and formalize code distribution and do all that sort of thing. It's not a job. You're not going to be working a part-time job here if you're a part of the LOTRO Creator program. Like, for example, what we just did on the Dungeons & Dragons online side last week before, is we had our most recent Patrons Coffer get released. And we were able to essentially send out an email. It was in the Discord too, but send out an alert to the people who are part of the program. Hey, we have got a Patrons Coffer coming here tomorrow. You're under NDA. That is, of course, part of this as well as the NDA. But here's the code for it. We want to get you a chance to know it's coming and start building your content. We had, say, a couple of video makers who were like, so I'm going to work on a video because it was released on Thursday morning. I'm going to do one Thursday night. Can I get a picture of this thing for my thumbnail? That's the kind of thing that we're going to be able to really kind of more easily do and track. So then on the end result, the creators would follow a login link. Go into this program, and they'll just have a little checklist, which is like, hey, make a post, make sure you use this hashtag on it, and the reason there's a hashtag is so that we can actually kind of measure and track it, and then here's your free code. And then they just go and redeem it. There are times, like, for example, again, I'm talking Dungeons & Dragons here because that program's been underway. Like last September's PAX West, when we were able to do what they call in the business an activation. That means we had the PAX West Arena, an opportunity to live stream from the PAX West Arena that came about just due to a series of factors. And we were able to jump on that in part because we were able to onboard the on-air personalities and get all the kind of documentation and messaging and work necessary. And then be able to reward them as well. This isn't about direct monetary gain. This is really mostly about codes and content, unlocking access to your account, so that you can play whatever the most recent thing is, that sort of thing. But it does also create a framework if in the future we were in a position to offer formal sponsorship. This would create the framework and everything from the tax documentation and everything else to do that as well. So I think that's really kind of the less formal reason of why we're doing this, or the more chatty version of it. I don't really need to talk about the goal. Who can apply? You have to be 18. It's a legal adult thing. We want you to be generating at least 15 pieces of content over 3 months. And that's across at least 3 categories. I want to be careful with my words here. Many content creators who are eligible for this program will look at this and not be surprised whatsoever. Because this is, in general, the kind of work that you're going to need to do as a content creator if you want to grow your audience. And so, although it is a requirement, in general, many of the people who are going to fit with this program will not be particularly surprised at this. I would also say the number is not, like, this is a legal document from Daybreak Games, and everything that's in this document is what we want. But I would just say that if you're like, oh man, I really want to apply, but I'm only doing 14 pieces of content, don't worry about it. Apply anyway. We'll be fine. there's going to be a group of us looking over this, and we're looking for the right creators and the right people. And most of the time, the criteria is not going to be an issue. But if you're just sitting there going, well, I mean, I stream all the time to 200 people, but I don't really have a Facebook or X. So now what do I do? It's fine. Don't worry about it. But we're not looking for people who are like, yeah, I just kind of stream to my friends every week. Not that we don't appreciate that work, and not that we're not going to support you, but it's not necessarily the relationship that is a good fit for this particular program. So, streaming at least 3 times over 90 days, you do need to have your VODs viewable. You must average 15 plus concurrent viewers. For short form video content, let me bring this down here. Short form video content, post at least 15 videos in the prior 90 days, like TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels. If you're writing, you write 6 articles in 3 months. Long form video content, that would often be things like quest guides, perhaps, things like that. Produce something like 6 to 9 videos, each 15 minutes or longer in the last 90 days. If you podcast, you should do something like 6 episodes in the last 90 days. I would say groups like LOTRO Players News. I've already been in touch with Drac and Pineleaf on that, and we'll get that sorted. But they're almost certainly to kind of be a good fit for this. Social media reach. Have at least 5,000 combined followers across all platforms. Posted at least 15 social posts in the last 90 days. X, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, other. Doesn't really matter what platform you're using. It's really, do you have any kind of audience there as much as anything. I would also say that 5 of all the figures, the one that is perhaps more flexible than others is that combined follower count. 5,000 isn't that hard to hit, to be honest, across all platforms. But if you're like, oh, I don't know, I'm a really good creator, but I only got 3,000 followers, you're probably fine. Then we really get into a bunch of stuff about the program, like what do you get as a creator? You'll get a bunch of rewards to make your content more impactful and sustainable, provided at Daybreak's discretion, not guaranteed for any particular creator or period, can be modified, limited, substituted, discontinued at any time. There's no health warnings here, but you know what I mean. Full access to all quest packs and expansions through the most recent release. At least 1 Valar at a level of content to support the content we're highlighting. At the moment, we're probably going to do something like 150 Valars for these initial people that get onboarded if we can. Monthly VIP account status. You will be getting a VIP for free. LOTRO points each month for in-game use for yourself and for your audience. We have found that the people on the DDO side will often take the codes and give them out to their audience in the form like 100-point codes, giveaways, things like that. That's fine. Content pack codes to give away to your audience. That's something that's pretty new. Access to promo content and preview codes for upcoming expansions based on pitches or plans, and I can talk more about that in a bit. This is somewhat less relevant LOTRO side. This is more relevant for the Daybreak games that have closed betas and launches and things like that, and this is the same text for all the games programs. But in general, I think that's mostly what they're talking about. To the extent we can have invitation-only previews and things like that, though you will be a part of that. And then opportunities to be featured in LOTRO social media newsletters and live streams. You already have that opportunity. But what I found on the DDO side is it is exceptionally helpful to have the people who are part of the DDO Creator Program basically posting their content in a channel on the Discord. And so, like this afternoon when I'm scheduling DDO social media content through the weekend, I can be like, all right, well, this one from Tavern Tales is good, this one from Strimtom is good, this one from Druid's Fire, is good, etc. And so it really helps me get content out from these creators as well and keep on top of it in a world of social media that no longer gives you things by timeline. Let me do this in my best pharmaceutical ad in the United States voice. Benefits of no cash value cannot be transferred, sold, exchanged, or refunded. Daybreak may modify or discontinue a benefit at any time. You are responsible for any taxes that may apply to what you received to remain eligible. Creators are expected to produce at least 5 pieces of content and submit it for review, etc. I'm not going to repeat this. Legal stuff. And then there's quite a bit that we can talk about in the FAQ. A lot of it just repeats itself, so I'm not going to get too much into it. But there's just a screen. I will say we couldn't do English, French, and German on the same application page just due to a technical issue, so we had to link the article in German and French, and you'll have to use a translator to fill out the form. We want German and French speaking streamers. We want streamers who are, and other languages as well, frankly. It does pose some challenges for the creator program because we need to be able to communicate with you in English. I am not a native French or German language speaker, or perhaps like, say, Brazilian Portuguese or whatever. There's a bunch of languages people speak and make content for about LOTRO. So you're kind of going to need to be able to communicate with us in English. But other than that, we do want to support as worldwide an audience as we can. And if we each just need to kind of send text messages through Google Translate or something to get it done, well, that's fine. That's fine. So. And then I'm not going to repeat this because it is mostly a repeat. All this fact stuff is really just what I just stated. You can read it at your leisure, should you wish. But we're about 20-some minutes in, so let me go over to chat and take care of that here real quick before I move on to other stuff. Is there any reason for a founder/VIP to apply for the content creator program? Not as such. We, of course, have quite a few founders and VIPs who are content creators, and they might well want to apply. But just being a founder or VIP, this is really about people who make content for an audience, more than it is just sort of an individual program. I know a bunch of people in chat about my earlier statement about the dropping the weekly live streams. It was not an easy decision at all. It was exceptionally difficult, and I've been kind of agonizing over it, honestly, for a couple of months now. But when I was facing the end of the year, and I was really just looking at the kind of pile of duties that are required to do this work and to meet our upcoming goals and what we want to do here, I was like, something's got to give. And then as soon as I was like, well, how do I make the shorts, and how do I do what I want to do and support all the LOTRO creators? Because I've learned on the DDO side that this program doesn't run itself. You got raw hours involved, and I wanted to be able to do it. So I was like, well, what has to give? And then as soon as I thought, I was like, well, I think it's time after 10 years to step away from the camera a little bit. As soon as I said that to myself, I was like, you know who's right? I don't want to be right, but you know who's right? Me. We got to do this. So that's really kind of how that came about. I would also just say, though, that this isn't the end of you seeing me on Twitch. I'm not going to be doing regular Friday streams, but I do intend, particularly when I have news-heavy things to talk about like today, I absolutely will be on camera in the future, whether you see me on YouTube Shorts or things, or see me on Twitch preview live streams, because another thing I want to start focusing on is developing the time to do more preview environment type content. So there'll be times where I'll be back. Like, I'm sure I'll be back for around the anniversary in April. I'm sure of it. And I'll still be modding and chat and doing a bunch of other things. But it's just the weekly Friday thing, whether there's news or not, really, that's going away. So Arabani says, I never watch shorts. Just saying. The younger kids might, the younger generation might, if they watch anything at all. I can tell you from my own personal experience that I started, I guess it was a year and a half, 2 years ago, with that same idea. And on one of my personal projects, I do a podcast about vinyl records with Drac from DDO and LOTRO Players News. I'm not going to promote it. You can find it on YouTube. But I was just kind of old school horizontal podcast style videos, and I was like, well, let's just see what happens if I turn them into shorts. And oh my gosh, was it the difference? It was a binary difference between the kind of success that we've had on that show and not being seen at all. The world is on their phones watching video content these days, and that vertical video stuff gets, like, if you're a LOTRO YouTuber right now and all you're doing is horizontal video, and all that video is maybe half hour to hour long live streams, you are missing out. You start putting that stuff, reprocess it for shorter digestible content, and start getting it out on a regular basis, I promise you, you will see eyeballs. Like, you will be surprised at how many eyeballs you might see. I'm an old school guy. I love my radio. I love my podcasts. I like my vinyl records. I still have my Atari carts. That's the kind of old school guy I am. But I think the reality is that when I look at even myself these days, I am often watching vertical video or horizontal video on my phone, but still shorter form content. Will applications be one and done or ongoing? This is for the content creator program, the creator program. It is not one and done. Once you've applied, you don't need to reapply, and we will eventually either accept, and I hate to do this, or reject all applicants. I actually have a task on the DDO side that I've been kind of putting off, which is I need to reject a bunch of applicants. And but that's the nature of this program, and I'm sorry if it's not. If you do end up getting rejected, if you do get rejected, you absolutely can apply again. Probably once you've seen some further success with your creation. But you can absolutely apply again if you get rejected. Otherwise, you don't have to, because it's just going to sit there in our inbox, and we can approve people over time. As part of this LOTRO creator program work that I'm doing in the next couple of weeks, I'm also onboarding a second group of DDO creators. The first kind of significant onboard since we launched the program last August, July, whatever that was. So we are going to be bringing in extra waves of LOTRO creators over time. And then also long term, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could happen, where some large Twitch streamer, it gets a bug to play LOTRO, because we do see that occasionally, and wants to contact us to get a free X pack and maybe talk about whatever. That's what this program's for as well. So there's no time. It's not like we're only taking applications for a week and then cutting it off. We are ultimately going to cut off the applications so that we can start reviewing them for the first wave. But the application process will basically remain open long term. Sounds like a poteen program. Well, that may be, in fact, the kind of content creator I'm talking about, huh? It's true, also, Druids Fired is one of our creators, members of the creator program on the DDO side. So perhaps can provide some comment there. Does SSG cover the cost of VIP for DDO LOTRO for these content creators? Yes. The DDO creators are posting ads for you. In theory, we could do something like that. Other games have certainly done that. You've probably seen them. But that's not really what we've done to date. It's not really an advertising thing. It's more of a creator support channel. So, although I guess in theory we could someday do advertising directly like that, it's more a matter of us supporting what you're doing more than us telling you what to do, if that makes any sense. What is social reach? Like X? Yes. Uh, it gets a little blurry because what is a social network? But that, as if basically the reach would be YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, Twitch, etc. It could be a website though as well. Here's a great example. Deco W absolutely should be a part of this creator program. Is going to absolutely be a part of this creator program, assuming Yao fills out an application. And even though they're maybe not, they're not live streaming X amount of hours per month or anything like that. The Deco W website is, makes perfect sense there, right? So Queen Proethian, 5K isn't hard. You barely hit 5K. I'm there. I'm often there. I do my own personal projects as well. You can do it though. You can do it. I know you can do it. Maybe I can get in touch afterwards and chat a little bit about it. But I would assume, Queen P, that you should be able to do 5K without any issue. Now, that doesn't mean 5K concurrent viewers. But a reach of 5K, you should absolutely be able to do. When will the next supporter pack be released? I don't know, but I know that we're working on it. Can we communicate in Elvish? Probably not. I can't understand Elvish. Lavriana, you should probably apply too. Yeah, just saying. And I think perhaps Druid's Fire can back me up on this a little bit as well. But on the DDO side, the program is ultimately us looking at a list of applicants, figuring out who the best fit is for the program, and then bringing people on. So, our program as exists throughout the Daybreak operation needs to have some criteria in terms of how popular you are or how big you are. But the reality is a group of us, including myself, are going to be looking at everyone's applications with an eye toward, okay, so who is, if I can be a little bold, who is genuinely influencing the LOTRO community? Whose content do we see making waves? Who's out there with an audience that's growing? When we look at Twitch stats by category, The Lord of the Rings Online, who's in the top 10? All that kind of stuff matters, whether or not you formally are hitting the numbers that are listed on the creator page. But we do have limited spots. And we know, for example, that the LOTRO creator program the LOTRO creator community is quite a bit larger than the Dungeons & Dragons Online side one. Just over time, there's been a lot more. So we're expecting a lot more applicants, which means we need to be a little more picky. So I saw this happen on the the DDO side as well, about the people got a little hung up on the 5K. The 5K total followers across all platforms. I would say that is a goal number. That's kind of a general ballpark we're looking for, but it's not a formal gate. It really matters more what are you doing and who are you talking to than it does have you, because you can fake 5K followers on X by Monday if you want to. You can do it. I'm not saying you should. You absolutely shouldn't, but people do. You could. So it's a somewhat arbitrary number is I guess what I mean. But it gives you a general scope of roughly the size of the audience that we're looking for. An old trick, I remember that there was an old trick where one of our game producers back in the day needed to get a ton of followers. They didn't need to be real followers. They just need to be followers because they were having a bunch of people who shall not be named kind of breathing down their necks in the size of their social media. And so they ended up dropping some keywords like producer in their bio. And then you just do certain words and you'll suddenly get floods of people who are following your channel, whether they ever pay attention to it or not. So the 5K number only kind of matters. But I would say for most creators who are hearing my voice, who are streaming LOTRO to more than a few people, don't disqualify yourself out. You know, you ultimately, if you say, well, I don't qualify, I can't apply. Well, okay, your choice. But if you got some ambition, give it a shot. I mean, well, we could talk. We can maybe chat Queen Perwethian Discord or something if you want to drop me a DM or something. But I would absolutely encourage you to apply for the creator program. I know just because I see your name in streams and that all the time that you're fine. Go apply. Would be my suggestion. So. All right, well, let me move on then to, I think, the next bit. So, I know I've been going all day here, but I actually get the other big piece of news that I wanted to talk about. That is, assuming everything works out okay, next week we are going to be releasing update 46.1. So, the tentative plan, or the notes say Wednesday, February 4th. That's the plan anyway. And here's a look at the release notes that are not yet published, largely an iteration of what you've seen on Bullroar. But here's the work in progress notes on this Friday, ahead of next Wednesday's tentative release of update 46.1. You'll notice also we struggled a bit getting it out, but we did have a Bullroar this week that included a bunch of polish on the UI scaling and update 46.1 in general. Not a lot of new release notes in this week's build on Bullroar, but it was really more of a polish to show some of the work that didn't get in on UI scaling last time around. There's a lot of text here, so I'm not going to read it all, but 3 new instances, a 6-player, a 2-6-player, and a 3-player. Oh, actually, I have one other piece that I did not include in these notes yet, but I am in the process of getting localized. And that is, I can tell you what the lead the charge deed is. Where is that now? Here we go. Yeah, so for the instances, Tiers 1 and 2 will be released at launch as per usual. Tier 3 will arrive later per usual. In this case, Tier 3 of the new instances will arrive at noon Eastern on February 12th. The Leading the Charge deed will be available to earn until 3 a.m. Eastern on March 19th. So March 19th for the Leading the Charge deed, Tier 3 on February 12th. And that'll get into the notes, but is just not in the copy I've got for you today. You do need to be level 160 in order to access the instances. You'll just learn about it from the instance finder. It's Control-J through the main menu. You do need to have Kingdoms of Harad. The first phase of UI scaling is the other big piece of one of the other big pillars of update 46.1. I can actually go onto Bullroar a little bit and just show you a thing, assuming I haven't logged out, which I did. Okay. So, UI Settings tab, Options menu. Scaling supported for the cursor, more than 50 UI elements in a global UI setting. The map UI can also now be toggled between full screen and panel modes in the UI setting, and a bunch of other good things as well. Let me pop over real quick to Bull Roarer here, and I will show you just real quick what I'm talking about. I did this once before on stream, but since we're on a new show, let's do this again. Your cursor can get big or small. You can have a global UI scale. Now, I noticed this is in the known issues as well, but the global doesn't scale dynamically because it needs to kind of calculate. If you get confused, you can just reset it. This is the default there. As you can see, because I have a slightly larger monitor, I move it up a little bit. And then there's a ton of panels and alerts and, like I say, more than 50 things you can look at here. Chat, you can... People are going to be able to do some kind of old school stuff on it. Or the reaction video type things. Where did I see that? Here we go. Yeah, you can move like the radar. Scale it all along. What? In case you need trouble finding your hotbars. Or in case you're on a 4K monitor. Kidding. Kind of. Anyway, so all these are individually able to be set. The UI layout and load function will work as well for this setting. It should preserve your UI layout and load when this goes live. There are a few bugs with it that will need to be doing in additional phases for. What do I have for the known issues real quick? Only the main mouse cursor is upscaling with a higher resolution image. All the other cursors are resizing using their smaller pixel base image. Rescaling the character panel while it's not visible can cause it to expand outside of panel bounds. It's more okay. Resizing the trait tree window causes the dependency arrows to shift. Interacting with the panel will fix it. And then the kinship calendar pop-up windows do not scale. The other piece is Lua plugins are not currently set to work with it. We had that available for preview on Bull Roarer, but we found some polish and other work that needs to be done. And so we're, with this initial 46.1 implementation, we're not going to be releasing the Lua scaling. So all your plugins will just work like they normally do, but they won't scale with the new UI scaling system until we bring it in as compatibility in our next phase of our UI scaling work. Premium homes are going to return 90% of their homesteading coin cost when sold. This happens with the release of update 46.1. Please note, however, you still get 100% when you're doing it automatically as part of the transfer process. Foreclosed premium homes will refund 80% of their homesteading coin cost. So if you sell it, you will get 90%. If you let the transfer service do it, you'll get your 100%. Some Tracery token, sealed Tracery, enhancement rune, and other packages that were in the mail system when you logged into 46 or 0.0.1 are having an issue. You know about that. You've been bothering me about it in recent weeks. We're going to fix that as long as those packages are no longer in the mail system when you first log into update 46.1. It's called versioning. So what you need to do is basically, if you've got something that was bugged because it was in the mail system when 46 or 46.0.1 was released, drop it into your inventory, and then it'll fix itself next week. We are fixing the issue about Ring Wraith spawn announcements on Angmar and Mordor in all regions. We're also fixing a issue no longer currently relevant, but a mission to bring good cheer will advance when completing Crown Amat stuff. Now, there is just a huge amount of release notes that I'm not going to get into here. You've seen a lot of this on Bull Roar. The class work in particular has been debated and has had some work done as a response to public feedback. But there's a lot here, and it just, I ain't reading all that. Note, Hunter save trait configurations have been reset, or will be reset with 46.1 due to changes to Hunter traits. So you're going to have to maybe grab a screenshot of your trait configurations if it's a concern. That's a bummer, but there's nothing we can do about it. Depending on the work being done, it has to version, and by doing that, it has to make you retrait. We have a bunch of quests as well. This is also from Bull Roar. 4 new deeds to track the completion of the endgame daily and weekly quests available in the 4 regions of Murgala. We're going to be reopening Tower of Orthanc, thankfully, with 46.1. That was closed due to an issue in the Acid Wing. We're adding Vio to Dun Shuma, the King's Fortress. And I think, you can just see we've got it. This is update 46.1 has turned out to be a very large release. Maybe we should have just called it update 47, but we didn't. It's 46.1 because it's not, makes sense there. 46 was Kingdoms of Harad, so you can see, however, that there's quite a bit in next week's update. All right, let me real quick get to chat, see if we have anything to answer. Yeah, it is a big update for a 0.1 update. Now, they often tend to be, but I don't think we've had one this big in terms of release notes in some time. The cursor resize is coming next week, correct. JR skins compatibility. So all Lua plugins, pretty much any of the plugins should work like they do today when 46.1 arrives. In the future, we're going to add the ability to interface with the UI scaling for Lua plugins, but there was a bunch of issues that really cropped up as we were going through the preview cycle that had us just remove that compatibility for now and instead just let them operate as is. Yes, I can't remember, Egarther, exactly Orion's wording used, but yeah, you get the higher gear from Delvings when Tier 3 of the raid releases. Or afterwards, whatever the next logical release point is for that. It's true, plugin creators may have some work necessary to get their plugins to work with scalability. One of the main reasons it's not here with 46.1 is the functionality to let them work with it is not quite ready yet. When you say submitting content for review, what all are we being reviewed on? Okay, so that really goes to some language in there about of the LOTRO Creator Program about submitting content for review. And there's another one in there about pitches submitted and approved. That is typically just going to be done through DMs or Discord or something like that. Maybe, for example, since you asked Queen Perwethian, I know you've got, is it the Sanctum House live stream that you got coming up here fairly soon, where you and a group of creators, not just LOTRO people, but other games as well, but the whole group of you are going to be doing a fundraiser for Sanctum House. That's a good pitch to us. Right now, in the past, you've reached out to me for to see what we can do to support that live stream, and I've just kind of kicked you some codes over Discord, things like that to give to the creators. It's basically we'll formalize that. So you would just sort of send a message saying, "Hey, I got this big thing I'm doing in April. Can what can you do? Are you interested in supporting it?" If it's the first time, I'll be like, "What are you doing?" But since I know what you're doing in this case, you would respond with, "Yeah, we're doing a multi-streamer fundraiser. Here's the streamers, and then we can check their sizes and things like that." And this is our program. This is when it's going to run. Here's some assets to promote it. What can you do for me? And we'll be like, "Yeah, we can get you some codes to give away." That's really what we're looking at. So submitting content for review. The other piece is there is a basic track, and we want to make sure, and this really follows historic work with creator programs in the past, where we do mandate that you do a certain amount of content over time. You've saw that in the text there of X number of pieces over 90 days. Especially when things become systematic and you're getting free codes on the regular from us, like with monthly point distributions. We don't want a creator to just kind of ease back and then kind of go invisible on those things. And so we do have some level of tracking of like, okay, here's my 4 live streams for the month, for example. Something like that. All right. Can I talk to the author of JRR skins as a priority? I am not the person to talk about Lua plugins. I would actually say that I would probably direct you to B4, honestly, in the LOTRO Discord if you have a question about plugins there. B4 does our plugins stream on LOTRO stream here on Twitch. But if necessary, if the creator of that skin needs some specific assistance, tell them to reach out to me and I can try to put them in touch with someone who are there. I mean, there is some amount of review going on. Queen Perwethian, concerned that there's a possibility of review. We're not really going to be judging your content, but, it is going to be part of, frankly, my job to skim some of these streams and make sure that the content's appropriate, that it's decent stuff. But for the most part, we're not really going to be judging your work that much. It should be fine. Good point, Telerian. Let me make a note of that. I, too, would expect Hobbit Gifts to end their Yuletide festivities with 46.1, but I didn't see that in the notes. So let me make a note to follow up on that. But I am going to assume, based on precedent, the answer is yes, that the Yuletide Hobbit Gifts will end with 46.1. Yeah, it's not going to be like an annual job review. We're not sitting down and judging your live streams. So, okay. Otherwise, I would just mention we do have an Embers and Moats boost going through February 1st. 10% is that one. That's our bonus days. The other bit I wanted to bring up is based in, I would say, a fairly large part on public feedback. We've made an adjustment to the timing of Angmar and Mordor. Let me try to increase the text size. I can't. So, Angmar and Mordor, we're going to see a level cap to level 100 around February 18th. The 105 cap will now arrive around June 3rd, and the 115 cap will arrive around September 9th. We're adding essentially a month to both the level 100 and 105 caps to let people prepare, let people gear up, do all the content that comes with 100, and then with the raid and everything, we also know that that's very exciting. So the 105 cap will give you time to enjoy that end game, as it were. And that news went out on Monday. Still have not yet in a position to talk about what we're doing after 115. We'll have further guidance as we get to that point. And finally, I did just want to mention, this was last week's news, but we did have, actually a couple weeks ago, we do have our letter to the players out as well. So if you want to take a look at what we're doing for the Lord of the Rings Online over the next couple of quarters, we do have our development roadmap available on LOTRO.com. Oh, and then one more here. We have got next week, speaking of official developer live streams, we have got Scenario with us next week. That'll be February 4th for the second in the Rivers of Middle-earth series of streams. This is senior world designer Scenario taking you through the landscapes, talking about their creation, behind the scenes, and functional. It's a real cool way to see how the world comes together. This is going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern right here on twitch.tv/LOTROstream, and we're going to be looking part 1 of the Anduin. All right, and I think I've not only done the news, but I managed to talk a whole hour. How's that for a final live stream for the moment? I'm sure I'll be back, on this channel, and I'm sure I'll be back live streaming more in the future. And you'll see me on YouTube and such as well. But you will see me on Twitch. However, not Fridays, noon Eastern, for at least the next couple of weeks. Got things to do and a creator program to support and get launched. So good luck to all creators out there. Hope you are successful in your application. And if you're not, like I say, we'll still work with you. Maybe just not through this program. And it's been an honor to do this live stream here for you for quite some years now. And I'm sure that it's not the end, but it is. Goodbye for now. Thank you so much for watching Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LOTROstream. Tolkien Professor's up next. Afterwards is Druid's Fire. We've got Big Ed at night, Master of Dungeons, and more all week long. You can find our full schedule over on LOTROstream. Have a great week, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.